Philodendron Florida, which is sometimes called Florida Green, is a hybrid philodendron. The parent species are Philodendron squamiferum and Philodendron pedatum. It's a robust, impressive and attractive plant, and fortunately, it's easy to grow. It is a climber and it climbs by means of rugged stems with aerial roots. Younger plants, such as this one, can support themselves, but with another few months of growth, this plant will flop around, so for it to grow properly, it will need a support to climb. Moss poles make good choices, but they can also climb branches, bamboo canes or trellises, and even walls, if they get the chance. The leaves are large and have many lobes, making a distinctive change from standard leaf shapes. On indoor grown plants, you can expect an average leaf width of 20 to 25 centimeters and a length of 20 to 30 centimeters. The leaves have a satin finish with dark lime green on the upper surfaces, with paler creamy green undersurfaces. Emerging leaves are very glossy and have a nice lemon-lime coloration, which lasts for many weeks as the leaf slowly darkens. Medium to large plants can measure 1 to 2 meters in height with a 50 to 80 centimeter spread after 3 to 4 years of growth, even under less than perfect indoor conditions. You will need an equally big space to accommodate a large plant, and a heavy or weighted pot will be needed to prevent toppling. Philodendron Florida is a large growing plant that makes a very impressive and imposing houseplant. As long as you have the space for it, it's a great choice. Use it on its own as a feature plant or as a great backdrop for variegated plants. Philodendron Florida is a hybrid plant, but its parents are both wild species from tropical regions, so we need to keep the plant evenly moist year-round. Watering should be regular in the warmer summer months, and watering once or twice a week will probably be needed depending on the temperature. Aim to keep the compost slightly moist at all times, but not soggy, and don't let the plant stand in water. So you will need to pour away excess water from the saucer or other container that its pot sits in. In the summer, smaller plants which can be easily handled can be taken outside for watering so that they can be given a good drenching, and the aerial roots can be sprayed also. Do this in the mornings before the midday sun gets too strong, as it can burn the leaves. Larger plants get too large to handle easily, so don't try to move them, but do give the aerial roots an occasional misting. Foliage can also be misted to remove dust. If the leaves droop, look for dry compost. If the compost is wet, the plant may have been overwatered, so allow to dry out before watering again. If drooping leaves persist, check the roots for root rot. If more than 50% of the roots are brown or black, then remove the compost completely. Cut away the dead roots and repot in fresh compost. Feed can be given every 2 to 4 weeks during the spring and summer growing season. Any general purpose liquid feed can be given. Dilute to half strength. Aim to maintain a minimum daytime temperature of 21 degrees Celsius and a minimum overnight temperature of 15 degrees Celsius. At lower temperatures, growth will be very slow, and temperatures below 10 degrees Celsius should be avoided. Freezing temperatures will result in leaf damage and possible death of the plant, depending on severity and duration. Humidity is important to this plant and can be hard to maintain indoors, especially for such a large growing plant. Keep the humidity as high as you can by using gravel trays and misting. Place in the bathroom now and then if you can, and group with other plants to create shared humidity. If you use a moss pole as a support, Don't forget to mist the moss pole, as this will create some extra humidity around the aerial roots. Brown leaf tips can be a sign of insufficient humidity, so work on increasing humidity if brown tips appear. Philodendron Florida likes bright but indirect light. A position near to a windowsill that receives sun is fine, as long as the sun is morning or afternoon only. Direct midday sun can burn the leaves. If the sun is direct and harsh, put the plant some distance away from the window, or place some sun-loving plants in the window to filter the sunlight. Propagation is by cuttings. I would normally let a plant of this size grow larger before taking cuttings, but I will cut this plant for demonstration purposes, and it won't harm the plant at all. We need to look for 10 to 20 centimeters of firm stem with at least 2 mature leaves and some root growth. These plants produce plenty of roots at the nodes, and so taking a cutting with some root is easy. To remove the cutting, we will cut through the stem with a knife or pruners, taking care not to damage the young unfurling leaves, which are soft and quite delicate. Here is the cutting that has been removed. This cutting has 2 firm, mature leaves with a developing leaf and a good quantity of roots. There is no need to put a cutting like this into water unless you want to do so for the fun of watching its roots development. So we can now pot this cutting into a pot of fresh compost that is the same compost that is used for potting the mother plant. The cutting has now been potted up into a suitable mix. A mixture of peat-based or peat-free general-purpose compost mixed with equal parts of coconut chunks and a handful of perlite will make a suitable potting mix. Don't plant the cutting too deeply. Aim to bury the lower portion of the cutting and the lower roots only. On these types of plants, exposed roots are not a problem. The roots will grow down into the compost and will fill the pot to secure the plant. To keep the cutting upright whilst the roots establish, I have used a small split bamboo stick for support, and I have attached the cutting with a plant tie that is quite loose. The support will be removed in the next 6 to 8 weeks as the roots begin to fill the pot. And that's it. This cutting can now be watered well and placed in medium light indoors for growing on.